Good evening and thanks for joining us.
Here's what's coming up on tonight's programme.
Candles and prayers for the victims of the Bondi Beach attack. How the shockwaves from Australia are being felt by Jewish communities thousands of miles away in the northwest.
He lost his temper. Paul Doyle appears in court to be sentenced for driving his car into crowds of Liverpool fans, and also at a paramedic who just happened to be in the way.
After activating my emergency button on my radio, I made sure I said the words, I've been ran over, I am on Water Street and there are multiple patients.
Together at Christmas, how footballer Adam literally owes his life to his wife.
When the whole village and a few farm animals turned out for a live nativity in Cheshire.
And it was definitely raincoat weather today for all except the Isle of Man, but Toby and Sooty didn't mind. What about the run-up to Christmas, though? We have some strong indications of a forecast. All the details coming up.
So first tonight, it happened more than 10,000 miles away, but the shockwaves from the terror attack on Jewish people in Australia are being felt right here in the northwest.
Yeah, Jewish communities in our region are still struggling to come to terms with the scale of the gun attack by a father and son as Jewish people gathered to celebrate Hanukkah on Bondi Beach in Sydney. It left 15 people dead, including a 10-year-old girl and a survivor of the Holocaust. Many others were also injured.
In the last couple of hours, there's been the traditional lighting of a menorah and prayers said for the victims of the Bondi Beach killings at the town hall in Bury. And as we speak, another service is taking place at the Heaton Park Synagogue in Manchester, where only 2 months ago an attack by a lone fanatic led to the deaths of 2 members of the congregation.
Mel Barham is there for us now. Mel.
Yeah, Katie, this was supposed to be a really joyful event here tonight. As you say, we're in the middle of Hanukkah. That's the Jewish festival of lights. And in just a few minutes' time, they're going to be lighting the second light on the menorah just behind me. And of course, this was always going to be a really poignant event. This is the first major festival since that terror attack that happened here at this synagogue just 2 months ago. But after those terrible scenes that we all saw in Sydney over the weekend, the atmosphere here is obviously tinged with grief and sadness that yet another Jewish community has come under attack. Well, tonight I am joined by Mark Levy, who is the Chief Executive of the Jewish Representative Council of Greater Manchester, and Christian Wakeford, the local MP. Let's start with you, Mark. First of all, just 2 months since you, suffered this terrible terror attack. What's the reaction been here?
Well, although the terrorist attack happened on the other side of the world, this is figuratively extremely close to home. There are strong links between the Australian Jewish community and our community here in the UK, and we need to send our solidarity and support to them because, unfortunately, through our own experiences, we understand the grief and the trauma that they will be facing when they merely wanted to celebrate their faith in public. And it is extremely telling that we are here in public again looking to celebrate our faith in Greater Manchester in the aftermath of a terrorist attack targeting our community.
It's so sad, and I know that obviously you spoke so much at the time about how the community here feels so unsafe. Has it made it worse following this attack?
Well, as we are speaking here today, trying to celebrate our faith, we are surrounded by gates and security guards, and it's telling that no other community has to live like that, because we are told repeatedly about the dignity we have shown in the aftermath of people being murdered where we are stood simply because they are Jews. But unfortunately, we aren't living dignified lives. So for us to hold this event here today, we are having to be surrounded by armed police and extensive security provisions, and that is a real moral failing on our society.
Christian, let's bring you in. What is your message here to people and to the community?
I think as we've seen over a weekend and a couple of months ago, this is an attack on the Jewish community simply for being Jewish. We saw it on October 7th on Simchat Torah, the Jewish festival. We saw it here on Yom Kippur, the Jewish festival. We saw it over a weekend on Bondi Beach, Hanukkah, a Jewish festival. And the only thing linking all these is my Jewish friends, constituents and relatives. What we really need to be doing, and this is Hanukkah, the Festival of Light, is be all coming together, friends of the community, whether they've been silent throughout the last couple of years or not, and say, well, actually, we're going to be that point of light. This community doesn't need to be standing behind walls of security fences and armed guards. As Mark said, this is a damning indictment of where our society is. We all have a duty to be that light now and say, enough is enough. We're your friends, we will protect you, but actually we need to call out the Jew hatred, whether it's on the streets, online, in the NHS, on university campuses, and we all have a duty to do that.
OK, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you both so much for joining us. And as you heard there, the people here very much determined that they will celebrate this tonight. They won't let these attacks stop that.
The Heaton Park Synagogue tonight. Thank you.
Well, next tonight, and the man who drove his car into crowds of Liverpool supporters at the club's victory parade in May has appeared at the city's Crown Court to be sentenced.
Attacker Paul Doyle cried several times in court as his actions that day were detailed to a judge in a hearing spread over 2 days, with the actual sentence tomorrow. Most of today's proceedings have focused on the incident itself.
Well, Tim Scott's at court for us now, and Tim, it appears Doyle drove into the crowd because he lost his temper.
Yes, that's right, Katie. The car that Paul Doyle was driving, a Ford Galaxy, had recorded dashcam footage of the whole incident, and it was played in court today. It showed that even before he drove at the Liverpool fans, his driving into the city centre was dangerous and aggressive. But as he arrived at Dale Street and had to slow down because of the crowds of fans, the camera in his car recorded him swearing and shouting at people to get out of the way. He was described in court as impatient and out of control. Jay Vernon was a paramedic on duty that day who was struck by Paul Doyle's car.
So I initially don't see what happened. I was struck by the car whilst I was walking, which sent me from the front left-hand side of the ambulance into the gutter on Water Street. It was only at that point where I'd put my arms out to brace myself, to brace the fall, that I've looked left and I've seen a number of other patients laying on the floor, and I've seen a vehicle. I've then seen the vehicle come reverse light and see the vehicle head back up towards where we were, which has made me jump up off the floor, and I've then watched the vehicle strike the front of the ambulance. In that motion is taken out a number of other people. After activating my emergency button on my radio, I made sure I said the words, I've been ran over, I am on Water Street, and there are multiple patients. After I jumped in the back of the ambulance for a brief 10 seconds or so, that enabled me to stop, gather my thoughts, make sure I wasn't injured, and then, made that decision then to let's do what we're trained to do and let's go and help the members of the public who were injured. It was at that point where you have sort of a realisation moment of going, what am I actually walking towards here? We still didn't know. There was still a lot of uncertainty. However, we were heading towards that with the kit and equipment. I think the uniqueness in this is actually being caught up in the incident, so being the incident itself, and then having to manage the initial stages of a major incident. But for me, the vulnerability that I felt whilst I was, didn't have an ambulance to lock the doors and seek refuge, I was vulnerable. I was on a pedal bike. I was in the middle of the street with tens of thousands of people. And, after seeing the footage, learning about how many people were injured, and the extent of their injuries, I class myself as very fortunate that I was in the middle of it, but got away with minor injuries.
And Tim, as you said, the court was showing some pretty shocking footage from the day.
Yes, Katie, today those horrifying events that unfolded on the 26th of May were shown from multiple angles, from CCTV, from mobile phones, as well as the dashcam footage. At one point, poor Doyle burst into tears when the footage was shown and could be seen visibly shaking. Referring to Doyle's aggression and swearing, Paul Greeny, KC, for the prosecution, said the strong sense from the dashcam footage is that the defendant regarded himself as the most important person on Dale Street and considered everyone else needed to get out of his way. The footage showed horrified pedestrians shouting and waving at Doyle to slow down. They were banging on his car and there were children there, but swearing and sounding his horn. He chose instead to turn out of a line of traffic and accelerate at the crowds. He slowed, then accelerated again as he turned onto Water Street. The dashcam showed people being hit by his car and being flung into the air. We saw a baby in a pram being struck, although thankfully they weren't injured, and we saw people trapped beneath Doyle's car when he eventually stopped. Over 100 people were injured in the incident. The court heard that in his police interviews, Doyle claimed he'd panicked after seeing a man with a knife and that he thought he was going to be stabbed, but police failed to identify any such man. Doyle also claimed he stopped his Ford Galaxy as soon as he hit someone, but that was described in court as a lie. Poor Doyle faces multiple charges of attempted and causing grievous bodily harm, wounding with intent, affray and dangerous driving, and he'll be sentenced by His Honour Judge Maneri here at Liverpool Crown Court tomorrow morning. Back to the studio.
OK, Tim at Liverpool Crown Court tonight. Many thanks.
You're watching Granada Reports this Monday night. There's still lots to come on the programme, including in sport.
Too early to put out the bunting. Liverpool's Stephen Bunting survives a scare in the World Darts Championships.
And it's been a wet day today for all of us except the Isle of Man. The rain continues on and off through the week. But what about next week, the run up to Christmas? All the details coming up shortly.
Time now for a look at the ITV National News. Up next with more on our top story. Here's Mary.
Coming up at 6:30, the terror attack on people celebrating the first night of the Jewish festival Hanukkah on Bondi Beach. There has been an outpouring of grief for the 15 people killed. 9 have been identified. A British-born father of 5 and a 10-year-old girl among them. Here, resident doctors have agreed to take strike action this week, walking out at 7 a.m. on Wednesday. And why houseplants could be next year's outdoor garden trend due to climate change. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Now, in recent years, we've seen the lives of footballers Fabrice Muamba and Christian Eriksen saved after they collapsed with cardiac arrest while playing.
Yeah, but next we're meeting a footballer from Preston who suffered the same fate, not on the pitch, but in bed.
Adam Dodd's wife, Kat, realised something was very seriously wrong with him when he started gasping for air in his sleep. Anna Yosef went to meet them.
So how was the last scan? Was it OK?
Yeah, it was all good. Showed everything as normal.
Footballer Adam Dodd says he wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for his wife, Kat. 3 years ago, she saved his life using CPR after he went into cardiac arrest in his sleep.
Within 3 minutes, you're dead if no one gets to you to do CPR. So that's how much of a good, phenomenal job she did. Otherwise, I won't be here today.
Kat had woken up after hearing Adam gasping for air. She tried to wake him, but after getting no response, performed life-saving CPR. It was a skill she'd learned in her job as a teacher, but she never thought she'd have to use it on her husband.
What was going through your mind while you were doing the CPR?
Repeatedly, I remember thinking to my head, please don't die, like you can't lose me, like I can't lose you, you're like, I kept thinking, you are my life, like we have a life together, this is not happening. Like I remember telling myself like, he will be fine because there's no other option. And I was just kind of screaming at him like, don't die, don't leave me. And it was actually, when I speak about it, it was actually really, really traumatic. And it has taken us quite a bit of time, both of us, to kind of get over the mental effects of and the trauma that it's had. But obviously we're here and we've had a great outcome, so we're so lucky.
Adam spent 5 days in an induced coma. But now he's back playing football for Bondi Beach after being fitted with an implantable cardioverter defibrillator, which protects him from life-threatening heart rhythms.
So it's just a box with one wire which just sits under the skin, and it runs along the front of my breastbone, and that detects my heart rhythm at all times, every second. And if there was ever a dangerous rhythm, it'd kick into action.
You're both backing the British Heart Foundation's Every Minute Matters campaign. What would you like people to do?
Well, we want people to just take 15 minutes of their time over Christmas, maybe when they're with their family, and go onto the British Heart Foundation website and learn CPR. It takes 15 minutes of your time. It's a really easy video to follow, and then you never know, you might need it. I never thought I would need it, and it saved my husband's life. So for 15 minutes of your time, it's really worth doing.
Adam and Kat are now looking forward to the birth of their first child in March. Anna Yosef, ITV News.
Yeah, it's great to hear he's doing so well, and thanks so much to Kat and Adam for sharing their story with us and showing us how vital those life-saving skills are.
Yeah, and skills that we can all learn one way or another. A little earlier, we were joined by Lizzie Moscardini from the British Heart Foundation. She told us why it's so important for everyone, to know how to perform CPR.
In the UK, there's over 40,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests every year.
40,000?
Yeah, and the survival rate is less than 1 in 10. So it's really important that people step in at the earliest opportunity, and that's exactly what Kat did for Adam. So it's really important in a cardiac arrest situation that people act really fast, because every minute really does matter. And also those out-of-hospital cardiac arrests, 80% of those do happen in the home, so you are more likely to have to use those skills on a loved one. So it's really important that everyone knows what to do in that situation and knows how to recognise it.
And that must be so incredibly difficult when you're faced with trying to save the life of someone that you love. If you were to find yourself in Kat's position, what should you do?
Well, the first thing to do is make sure that the scene is safe for you to respond as well, to make sure that you're okay there. You want to, check that that person is responsive or not. So shake their shoulders, ask them out loud, are you okay? Check if they're breathing. If they're not breathing, you need to call 999 straight away. The emergency services are really, really good, and they will also talk you through exactly what to do. And I think at that moment, the adrenaline really does kick in. But if they're not breathing, or they're not breathing normally and they're unconscious, you need to start CPR straight away. If there's someone nearby, you should also ask them to go and fetch a defibrillator as well, because every minute without CPR and defibrillation reduces the chance of survival by up to 10%. So yeah, it's really important to kind of get hands on the chest straight away and have that intervention.
And the advice has changed over the years. Someone I know went on a course not so long ago said, well, we don't do breaths anymore. So what's changed?
Yeah, so after COVID, the rescue breaths, the guidance around rescue breaths did change because there was, that risk of transmission during COVID. Now what we teach is that everyone should just do hands-only CPR. If they feel comfortable or they're trained to do so in rescue breaths, they can give rescue breaths. But what you're looking for is CPR, hands pumping fast and hard on the chest to about 100 to 120 beats per minute. So think of a song like the Bee Gees' Staying Alive, something like that, and kind of do it to that rhythm.
And what are some of the barriers that people face when coming to do it? Because I guess a lot of people might be worried about getting it wrong and causing more damage.
That really is one of the biggest barriers. People are worried that they're going to cause more harm, but in that situation, a cardiac arrest is the ultimate medical emergency, and that person will die otherwise. So it's really important that people, start doing something, and that's the point of this campaign as well. So the BHF have teamed up with Sky Bet, and we're working on this Every Minute Matters campaign, just to try and demystify some of the, the misconceptions around CPR and using a defibrillator. You don't have to be medically trained to use a defibrillator. Like, anyone can do CPR. So what we're doing is showing people that we have this tool. It's free, takes only 15 minutes, so it's accessible to everyone. And yeah, in 15 minutes you can learn how to save a life. So we've got that on the British Heart Foundation's website. But yeah, it really is simple. It teaches you how to recognise a cardiac arrest, what to do when you need to call 999. You can practice your chest compressions to the Bee Gees song, which is a good one to remember, and then also how to use a defibrillator. So it talks you through everything.
Simple but important advice. Lizzie from the British Heart Foundation, thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it really matters, and you can go and find that advice, that guide, that video on how to do that online right now. Just Google it, it's right there.
Yeah, it's really good as well, because it does film you as you're doing it and tells you the technique's right or not.
Make sure you're putting the right amount of pressure on. It is time for sport now. Manchester United are looking to build some momentum tonight. Here's Mike.
Yeah, Yeah, that's right. Every time United have looked like turning a corner this season, it's often been followed by a setback. Well, tonight they have the chance to extend their unbeaten run to 4 matches at home to Bournemouth in the Premier League. Let's take a look at the current league table. United in 8th spot, but 3 points tonight would see them move back into the top 5. And they face a Bournemouth side without a win in 6 games.
I don't look to the results. I look the way they face every opponent. They press really strong. They are really direct in the game. So I expect, again, one Premier League game that is really tough. But we need to win, especially at home. And that is the goal.
Mo Salah is now on his way to the Africa Cup of Nations after making his return to the Liverpool squad to bring Salah back after just 1 match.
Should he be once or twice, 3 times, 4 times, 4 months, 12 years? Every manager makes different decisions in that, but I think actions speak louder than what has been said. He was in the squad again, and when I had to make my first substitutions, I brought him in, and he performed as I think every fan, including me, would like him to perform today.
Well, as Liverpool start to climb the table, it's Manchester City who are putting the real pressure on the league leaders. Pep Guardiola's side are still just 2 points adrift of Arsenal after their latest victory, 3-0 at Crystal Palace, Erling Haaland scoring twice. Elsewhere, there were defeats for both Everton, who were beaten 2-0 away at Chelsea, and also for Burnley, who lost 3-2 at home to Fulham. That's 7 straight defeats now for the Clarets. Preston North End continue their promotion push. They are 3rd in the Championship table after winning at Oxford. Daniel Jebison on the score sheet in the 2-1 result. Let's take a look at the region's other winners over the weekend, and Bolton Wanderers maintained their unbeaten home record as they beat Exeter City 2-1. They are 4th now in League One. Into League Two, and Salford City remain in the playoff places after a dramatic win over Colchester. They trailed 3-1 before winning 4-3. Luke Garbett, the hero, in stoppage time. Crewe Alexandra are just a point adrift of the playoff spots after they won easily at Tranmere Rovers, 4-1 the final score there. And Fleetwood Town took maximum points against bottom club Newport County, winning by 2-0. Khadija Shaw was the star of the show, scoring 4 goals as Manchester City strengthened their position at the top of the Women's Super League. It takes her goals tally for the Blues beyond 100. City brushed aside Aston Villa 6-1 at the Joy Stadium. It means they head into the winter break with a 6-point lead at the top of the table. Manchester United staged a superb late fight back at home to Tottenham. They trailed 3-0 with 15 minutes to go, but ended up rescuing a 3-3 draw. Everton were beaten by Arsenal, but Liverpool drew 2-2 at West Ham. Better Olsen with the 87th minute equaliser. Finally, to the World Darts Championships, and an early scare for Liverpool's Stephen Bunting. The world number 4 and one of the favourites for the title was pushed to a deciding set in his first round match against Poland's Sebastian Białowieski. But he is safely through to the second round, winning by 3-2. And Stephen is back in action next weekend. I suspect he'll spend most of this week on the practice board. But I think they were just first night nerves there. He'll come good.
He'll settle down.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Mike. Well, finally tonight, fans of the Vicar of Dibley will know all about the potential pitfalls of putting on a live nativity show. But for one village in Cheshire, thankfully, there were no major mishaps.
So congratulations to the good people of Pyash Farm at Bosley near Macclesfield, who staged an amazing live nativity in their barn with people in costume and with real animals too. It was so popular they had to do the show twice.
And we're also delighted to say they raised more than £1,800 for local charities, including Bosley Church, which puts their total fundraising for the last 5 years above 30 grand. So amazing work, guys. And there's a very happy vicar, Liz England, there saying thank you to everyone for turning out.
With animals, making noises, making mess, making mud, but fantastic. I mean, just with the hay today and the difficulties with the technology, which Jesus wouldn't have had trouble with. But it was just wonderful to see the tableau and just to imagine what it would have been like in the cold and the dark of the first nativity.
And I tell you, if you went outside at all today, you'd have been wishing for a barn to shelter in. It's been awful. Here's Emma with the weather.
Mum, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there, very good evening to you. Well, everything is calming down tomorrow, but today was a pretty wet one for all of us except for the Isle of Man, and heavy rain continues through till midnight. That's when the warning expires. It's all pulling away to the east and the southeast, but dragging its heels as it does so. Tomorrow, lots of wintry sunshine around, a drier interlude, and then there's more rain. Where that came from? Well, there would be. It's sort of up and down all week, really, with our weather, with a very unsettled weekend. So that system pulls away. High pressure briefly builds in for tomorrow, and then it's just a conveyor belt of frontal systems. They're going to bombard us for the rest of the working week. Not a bad day on Friday, but as I say, it's all downhill again. Saturday and Sunday, well, it would be. But then, in the run-up to Christmas, for Christmas week itself, there's actually a very strong signal that everything is going to settle down and be fine and dry, which is good news if you intend travelling and being on the roads. Rewinding to the next few hours, as I say, the last of that system pulls away. Skies clearing from the west there, so it gets quite nippy overnight, and in some spots we could get some patchy frost, maybe some mist and fog patches as well, light winds. And then into Tuesday, a crisp start to the day. A little bit of mist lingering, especially over the tops of higher ground. Into the afternoon, a fine day, light winds and temperatures around where they should be for the time of year. A little bit colder than today, but I think we'll forgive that because of all the sunshine. And then we have this system rather ominous out to the west. Ominous, that's what my director said. And it's pulling in on Wednesday. So after a bright, crisp start to the day, another patchy frost in places. We see all this rain. There'll be strong winds as well moving in. When it clears away on Thursday, it'll be replaced by sunny spells and scattered showers, but not a bad day on Friday. Bye-bye.
Cleaned up well.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thanks, Emma. At least we've not had to de-ice the car. That's all we've got time for on tonight's Granada Report. Thanks so much for joining us.
But it is raining on the car, so, you know, downsides everywhere. I'm back with our late update after news at 10. Hope you can join me. Until then, from all the team, thanks for watching. Have a great night.